Heads up, eyes open, and fists clenched.
Yeah.
This here be the chairman, Fred Hampton Jr., live and direct. You see, now I need y'all to bear with me as I bear my soul and take you on the insides behind enemy lines about some state-sanctioned assassinations, mass incarcerations, and some other plans that these pigs done put into place in order, amongst other things, to control the world population. You see, now it ain't no coincidence. A lot of y'all cats don't even know about the infamous COINTELPRO.
Shit.
G-men, government hitmen, directed by Director J. Edgar Hoover and his hitmen. Political frame-ups in which they still got a lot of cats politically caged up, killing us and hitting us with more than just a gun. And some names which, for legal reasons, I can't even mention, they're still on the run. Now imagine, if you will, the same goddamn government that brought in all the dope, putting your picture on a poster, placing a bounty on your black ass with the words "wanted" emblazoned across the daily news front page. Your face being placed right up under an institutional issue scope. See, we talking about a bunch of bad motherfuckers who were looking for number one ducking on motherfucking trouble. Shit. Go-getters and hard-hitters who gave us free medical centers. You see, stood straight up against the system and said, yeah, motherfucker, we subversive and freedom of death. And strapped up in the spirit of self-defense. Free clothes and free busing programs, first free breakfast programs, armed with a political ideology that would stood the test of time and a 10-point platform. Hold on now. Now fast forward in closing words from the tongues of the Black Panther Party cubs. Let us continue to resist and never forget the 2337 West Mountain Road, 4:35 a.m. in the morning, west side of Chicago, 1969, December the 4th. Shit.
Right on. Heads up, eyes open, and fists clenched. Chairman Dr. Fred Hampton Jr. coming to you live and direct, literally. We trying to kind of up the ante. You see here, I used to see us coming on Wednesday with a weekly program, the Free All Radio, hosted by myself and Lady Rage. This is not a regular podcast. This is what we're gonna call the Panther Cub Cast, and I think we kind of going back and forth with the actual title. We might go so y'all bear with us. We got some technical difficulties like the background. This is something new we trying. This is a number of different forces assisting us with this here. So, clench fist salute to all of them. Rock Truth and everybody else is on here with us, you dig. And the most important to you, the people. And with this Cub Cast, we live and direct with, again, the Hampton. Should be looking for our brother, Larry Hoover Jr. to be touching in with us soon. I can only imagine. In fact, I talked to him earlier today. He moved, moving and grooving. So, of course, the recent news, which we're going to talk about in particular, that news being the commutation issued by U.S. President Donald Trump, and was brought, and also the pardon czar. I think it's Alice Johnson. I think she's the one that put forth, even for, actually, the pardon czar. And for that even that term, that's a certain person, different presidential administrations would have their specialty. Like, for example, you can put this in context. You say a czar, CZAR. William Bennett was like the drug czar for U.S. President George Bush Sr. And again, that's someone that handles like a particular field. I believe, if I'm correct, this is the first. First time even this term a pardon czar. And a little background with her, Alice Johnson. I forget. She may have done a 22-year sentence. Excuse me, she was locked up 22 years, and she was pardoned. And this is called this recent discussion, in particular with the people in the everyday community, not a lot of people of the lay who you may not refer to see as being politically conscious. This is calls for like a discussion. Excuse me with that. Discussions of distinguishing commutations from pardons and what have you. So again, we checking these calls because hoping Larry Hoover Jr. touch in a minute. In particular, I'm gonna talk about even touch on something like the humanity, because I tell we hear about different names, individuals, whether it be everyday situations in our community, murders, people being in prison. Sometimes you get caught with the stats and facts, and the humanity aspect of it gets taken away. So we look for Larry Hoover Jr. want to talk about some of those different dynamics, because I say that humanity aspects, you know, on some of the questions we're gonna talk about, like how many generations, has this, within their respective family, has Mr. Larry Hoover been going? I mean, I think it's actually 52 years that he's been locked up. Yeah, 52 years. And I want to say that again, 52 years, because a lot of times we hear these numbers, we become stoic or disconnected, but the impact of that. But I know that technically speaking, every 21 years is a generation. However, in our community, you got to kind of assess and adapt those different numbers. In other words, people make jokes about it, like say the grandmothers ain't what they used to be, the different age range. But we want to talk about that. I mean, say generations that Mr. Hoover, now this is his father. Has he ever had the opportunity of saying this, connect with his father outside of a prison visiting room? Those are some of the questions we are looking forward to delving into. Also, we want to seize the time with a certain discussions again happening now. I was asked in an interview yesterday, what sort of impact do we see, even with Mr. Larry Hoover returning to his family, to his community, well, actually the question was to the streets, and I kind of responded like to his family, to his community, and the deal is. And my response was, you can even look at some of the positive impact of just even the discussion on social media alone. People who consider themselves, who are the most apolitical, who a lot of times say they don't get involved in the politics, they don't have certain discussions, has opened in the Black community in particular. We're told directly, indirectly, don't talk about that, don't talk about politics, and ironically, we get the most impact about that. And the reality is, everything is political. Everything is political. Everything is political. Words, terms, fashion, music, how you relate to it. And politics is basically food, clothing, and shelter, your survival needs, how you see it, how you view it. And what I'm saying, like, again, a lot of times we say we don't want to get involved in it. We're told don't get involved in that. And but the reality is, we talk about prisoners. We talk about mass incarceration. Those numbers, in particular how it impacts us. And it's a sad reality, but a reality all the same is that in many cases we have a reactionary response to something issues that impact us. I mean, all the time, and sometimes it takes the ruling class, or in many cases white people, to say something. For it to be even acknowledged. David Walker and David Walker's appeal in the 1800s said that the most intelligent of African descent can say something, and it would be dismissed. But a white person from any walk of life can say something that's taken as a fact. I'm saying to say, like, even I can imagine during the era of chattel slavery, with the Civil War, just with with the North, with the North saying that there was some issues with the South. How many people said, well, yeah, you're right. The South is, they bogus, they out of order. So, it takes that. And so even now, even though there's been again 52 years of the case of Mr. Hoover and so many others who, when he was in state prison, we want to talk about that too, even distinguishing state prison from federal, federal prison. And I know many of us already know this, but forgive me if I'm retouching some stuff that's already understood. But um, this is something that people are talking about now, because they're talking about, okay, if a lot of people automatically say with U.S. President Trump with the commutation that Mr. Hoover will automatically be free. In fact, people say he's free, but the reality is returned back to the state prisons custody. And some of the background history with that is he was classified as what is referred to as the C numbers. The C numbers. This is in Illinois. There's a prefix before every prisoner's number. You know what I'm saying? You call it B numbers, the A numbers, K numbers, so on and so forth. In fact, you can tell how long a person was locked up, or when they were locked up. A lot of times by whatever alphabet preceded their numbers. The C numbers in particular, the case of Mr. Larry Hoover, the state case. These were numbers. The people who issued the C numbers, and they came up to around 1978. These were the cases that in particular were given what they refer to as the indeterminate sentences. Indeterminate sentences when you had the parole, okay, the parole board. Well, the parole board, when you would go up, you know what I'm saying, in front of, and many states, they had a parole board, we had these hearings to see if you've been redeemed, so on and so forth, or they justified you being released, and you can have a widespread. In fact, late great Field Marshal George Jackson, who was Field Marshal of the Black Panther Party, I think it was a one. He was sentenced to 1 to life sentence. Again, I think it was 1 to life sentence for, they said, a robbery, and he was continuously denied parole. The C numbers back to Illinois. The C numbers in Illinois. Even there was such contradictions as the fact that, like so many other cases, like there were white prisoners, you know what I'm saying, who were released, who had, by any account, horrific crimes, horrific charges, but you know what I'm saying, the disproportionate, they were being released. But you still have a number of older brothers and I'm sure sisters who are still locked up and they were going from, you know what I'm saying, they going from the parole board. And again, this went up to 1978 under then um, Governor Thompson's. And this was be implemented under the auspices, you know, the term they use so often, a warm gang, so on and so forth. You had a lot of the older brothers, in particular, the C numbers. In fact, to this day, they have an annual C number picnic with a lot, a lot of prisoners, they come together, so on and so forth. But Mr. Hoover was one of those who was sentenced under the C numbers, I believe, in 1972. And also, and I recall, like, even when he was going for parole, there were certain contradictions that were being heightened. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause a lot of times people just take the state's word. They don't say the state. I'm talking about this is the state's attorney. I'm talking about the media, so on and so forth, and just don't even look. Be so reaction. Don't even look into what is he charged with, so on and so forth. And a lot of people have the question about issues like, well, how do you? In fact, this is a long struggle about even distinguishing what is a political prisoner. You know what I'm saying? That a prisoner of war, and this has been a long debate, you know, so within the colonized communities in many cases. And with the parole hearing, some things like, you know, saying who, even his co-defendant, you know, saying was on the state case we're talking about, it was the admitted trigger, they said there was a trigger man, that he was released, and it was very clear that, you know, saying Mr. Who was the real reason why he continues to deny it was a whole other purpose of that. I mean, like everything, it magnified this political. That's you just seen the image. You just seen the image right there. That's myself and Larry Hoover Jr. At the annual. I think that was December. Was that? I love how I look at the weather, see how cold it was. I get December 4th and August 30th are 2 major days with us. And sometimes I look at images and I try to see how we was dressed to see if it was August 30th, Chairman Fred's birthday, or December the 4th. But you see that Larry Hoover Jr., you know, saying he as well as his family, you know, saying came out to support. That's who he's at the now defunct Chairman Fred Hampton Aquatic Center, which we're fighting to get back open in Maywood, Illinois. So I know I'm using a lot of terms now. We want to seize the time because it's a saying that Lenin said, and that what takes people 20 years to learn in ordinary times, they can learn in 2 years in revolutionary times. No, by how whatever side whatever political side of the fence you reside on, no one can debate the type of information and education that people are forced to grasp. There are certain terms that a lot of people say they don't want to know about. Everything that everyone from people on the college campuses, literally on the universities, literally to those in the prison, those on the streets, the barbershop. There's a different sort of discussion that people are having now, good, bad, or indifferent. Terms such as tariffs, you know what I'm saying, property taxes, immigration, the race question, prisoners, pardons, commutations, dynamics that that have existed before. However, it's like it's a blatancy. It's upfront where you have to have the discussion. Now, I mean, it's not something you can push it aside. And say, well, let's talk about that in a vague way. Talk about that during election time. Every day, every day, situations are moving a million miles a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it was even with the news of the commutation. And it's something I want to point out that U.S. President Trump, in particular, but many representatives of the ruling class, if you go back and look, they make a point about even their words and terms. A lot of times people say, "With our community, we don't make a big difference and have like a blatant approach." But I said, you can go back and look at the situation in regards to the individuals that ran up in the Capitol January 6th. Even during the campaign, campaign run before U.S. President Trump came in for the 47th president, he never referenced them as prisoners. He referenced them as hostages. He referenced them as, in fact, went so far as to say political prisoners. So, and so it wasn't an overnight thing, you know what I'm saying? So it cultivated the soil, set the stage, even when it's not popular, even before he got in position. And those even if the people, the common person of the lay couldn't understand it, but it was a communication, and it set the term. You know what I'm saying? It kind of put you in, it put them in shape. You know what I'm saying? So the people could grasp this when he came through with these blanket pardons. Again, pardons. And you know what I'm saying? Also in regards to them, like, you know, and so we want to try to even have this discussion to up the ante for more of a clarity on our words, our terms, so on and so forth. So that's where we at today, y'all. So again, if we don't, if Larry Hoover Jr. is able to call it, I know you got some pressing family issues to deal with tomorrow also, in addition to what's going on now. I know they say like on that, you know, just, I mean, you can imagine just even after 52 years, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, and in addition to serving that time, I want to add this too. When you have, it's compounded with people giving you life sentences. I mean, something to tell you that you would never get out. The psychological impact, you know, you can't. It's difficult to articulate to be. You know what I'm saying? I mean, for situational people be on death row. I mean, one way or another, and then in the moments the changes. You know what I'm saying? Man, like people say they go to the doctor and you hear about the doctor told them you're gonna die in 2 months and have your the mindset. You know what I'm saying? How you get quote unquote comfortable with that. You know, you try to set yourself. They say no, that's not. We made a mistake or whatever. To be able to change, to be able to be on. I mean, the impact of that. You can only imagine the psychological toll that you're saying taking on not only the individual but those surrounding you. And I want to say this in regards to like just even um, the some people. I mean, I was going to say outside Chicago, but this is something. I mean, this is a case, is a phenomenon that everyone from former U.S. President Bill Clinton talked about. The case of Mr. Larry Hoover. You see, you know what I'm saying? You seen even with Kanye West when it was in the White House, you mentioned Mr. Hoover's case. You just seen the images posted up now. That's myself, Larry Hoover Jr., and DC Young Fly. These are names that many people, including myself, you growing up in Chicago, you in particular, you hearing of these names, and they were legendary. You know what I'm saying? And, you know what I'm saying? And to the point that even people who never from another respective generation who never came into contact with when I say these respective individuals, you can look I mean like legends and I won't just say Chicago, and many times we have to like in our community you have to these individuals who come from like circumstances. A lot of people say, what's the big deal? Why is this such a phenomenon? Why is this why is this causing such a discussion? You know what I'm saying? Whether you agree, disagree, or how you feel about it. How it impacted. And so the deal is with a phenomenon. What is a phenomenon? It's an unusual event. You know what I'm saying? We're going to say individual also, or that can be scientifically explained. And this, like everything from impact. I mean, you look at, like fashion, you look at music, you look at how people related to each other, the terms, so on and so forth. Your periods of time. When I say periods of time, you can talk to certain individuals. You know what I'm saying? Whatever respective different organizations. Even with there was a time period in which I was speaking recently to some youngsters in Chicago, and I say, like, you hear people saying terms like gang, gang, or you hear about this, so that, that was a time period in Chicago. That word to say gang was offensive. It was offensive. It was taken as like a disrespect, and you can look at old graffiti. You can go and you can look at different writings on the wall, and you know what I'm saying, and the suffix whether it be with the black stones, black P stones, or the vice lords, and the MCs, or the GDs, the stuff you see a commonality with all these different respective terms, these acronyms. It was N nation. It was GDN, BPSN. You know what I'm saying? And so even the term, back to the politics of the term, so you can lock in a time period to see what was going on. You know what I'm saying, in their respective time period. How people reference themselves, the body language. How they you look at the you look at how they mention certain names and the response. And that's how you get to know people indirectly to say, okay, who is this? I can see how this person responds. Um, I'm going to fast forward to a situation a few years ago, a peace march, a peace rally that was in Inglewood. Ironically, an area that Mr. Larry Hoover, you know what I'm saying, an area that, in particular, this area where he was at, it was in Inglewood, around 65th and Hall, this area in particular. In fact, the area where the case he was charged with and sent to the state prison for. And this was several years back. And um, with the rally, with the march, I remember we walking north on 65th and Halsted, and there were different representatives from us and the people in general, but then there was some brothers who came on. These brothers who happened to be demoralized. Notice the term I'm using. They were demoralized, not dope fiends. We struggled against those terms. And they came on this, they seen it, and they got with the march, and one of them, you seen them start supporting the call, you know what I'm saying, about stopping the violence, you know, et cetera. And also they picked up a rallying cry, and so a couple of individuals, they said free Jeff Ford, and others, they free Larry Hoover. And they were marching, and you can literally see the transformation, the process. I'm telling you, like literally, they were clearly. These brothers were like they were ragged. They was, they backs was bent over. Heads was down, and you could see the process in them. With them saying these respective names, like a pride coming into them. And they flashed back to a time period where you know what I'm saying. Well, not to romanticize it, but there was some contradiction. Don't get it twisted. However, but a time you know what I'm saying, you like literally could see with some dignity that was in these respective individuals. And I remember they were walking, and then they start to bump, like you know what I'm saying. Who's saying, um, which name leaders again? Who's saying it louder? And they were connected back to different time periods. And mind you, like everything else, we say things are constantly growing, being born and growing, as well as dying and disintegrating. And a lot of times people get caught up in like a time warp. They can't see that. Like, you know, like you see, that's why the media, they strategically grab certain images of Mr. Larry Hoover, you know what I'm saying, certain, it's when they talk about certain time periods. And people once your mind get locked on the image, a lot of times people don't want to recognize that the growth, you know what I'm saying, even with yourself, you know what I'm saying, you want to, that happens, that people talk about even in relationships, people say, well, you hear that term, we just grew apart. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? The dynamics of, you know what I'm saying, like literally growing apart. And you can't put no ceiling on that. And you see, like, in fact, Prince, the artist Prince had talked about how a lot of his audience, his audience would want him to stay at a certain level. And the deal is that dynamic of growth. And you look at, also put in context, you look at the time range and what was going on in the respective time period, because it's easy to be judgmental on certain individuals, especially in the public eye. I heard people speak in regards to like act with a kind of like a dogma about some of the struggles that Minister Dr. U.E.P. Newton, visionary co-founder of the Black Panther Party. People say, well, I heard he was using drugs, so on and so forth. And I struggle to say, okay, let's put that in context. What was going on at that time period? I say, we can look back in retrospect like Monday morning quarterback. And people say, man, the drugs and so forth. But mind you, this form of chemical biological warfare, again, chemical biological warfare that was, that our communities were saturated with. And you know what I'm saying? You taking people, you know what I'm saying, like many times they play like that bait car. You know what I'm saying? Bait car. This is a show they call Bait Car, where they would go in the most disenfranchised communities and put cars right there for these, you know what I'm saying, for these little brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? And then it's a free car, leave money in there, like going fishing. You know what I'm saying? But even deeper than going fishing, you're saying, well, the fish has opportunity to go look for other things as opposed to the worm. You know what I'm saying? The survive. This is your only route, your only outlet. You know what I'm saying? So that you have the drugs are placed in our communities. So you put that in context of time. And so, in fact, I'm gonna give you another example about that. I said on once, I think it was an interview with Ice-T, and I said I disagree with some things. I said, but one interview you said on our Arsenio Hall show, I said you was right on point. I said I'll never forget that. It was an interview, it was a show, Arsenio Hall episode, and Ice-T had came out, and they had showed an old picture of Ice-T, and everybody just bust out in laughter. They laughed at the clothes he had on. And Ice-T's response was, what were y'all wearing around that time when you came to see me? And the audience, they got quiet. So so we talk about these cases. I want to reiterate. You know, what I'm saying 1972. Where were you at? What would you say? What was your viewpoint? How did you, what in the community? How did you assess crime? So on and so forth. So struggle to be objective and struggle to, again, the age range. You know what I'm saying? That's what you point out. How old these individuals was. What was the options? And I know it's difficult for a lot of people, even present day, because access to social media, so on and so forth. So just again, just trying to put this stuff in context. Back to the example I was giving. This march down Halston. So these brothers, they start to bump each other. They got loud, and it was starting to appear to become antagonistic. And one brother in particular was like, "Hey, Chan, won't you stop?" I said, "No, this is necessary. This is see, these are different dynamics, like growth." And I gave the analogy how on National Geographic there was a scene where the elephants were going through musk. Musk is like a form of puberty, and the elephants they start to bump each other, to go against each other, and these are not necessarily bad elephants. It's a natural dynamic, natural process that they were going through, and then they brought the presence of certain bulls or male elephants. As soon as they got there, you see the whole, it's like it balanced out. It balanced out. And when these brothers were getting louder and louder, since standing up stronger and stronger, and they were clamoring the names of Free Jeff Ford, Free Larry Hoover. And I remember, they got to that, and I remember in particular myself, I remember Larry Hoover Jr., Little Larry, others, we at the head of the march. And this was the statement of free them all. And I remember that balancing point, point, not that there was still, and there were contradictions, but some point of unity they were able to relate to. And I'm saying it to say, I know individuals who were illiterate, who learned to read through their respective literature. You know what I'm saying? Their discipline, their beliefs, their ideology. You know what I'm saying? I remember in Centralia prison, a place we call Plantralia. You know, um, it being necessary, like like even their membership. You know what I'm saying? Certain organizations have have to get at least their GED. And back to that time period reference I gave earlier, you can talk to individuals, you be able to have like a time lock, the GDs, Gangster Disciples, growth and development. And you say, well, why did what's the change? You know what I'm saying? Again, like literally, you know what I'm saying? Different periods of time, like I say in the 60s, the Blackstone Range, the Black Peace Stone Nation, different ideologies, so on and so forth. So these are different dynamics that impact communities, and it was a system. And I say the system again, uh, the media and other operatives, the schools, whatever. They bombard you, and you become subjective. And you know what I'm saying, and just don't, you get sidetracked, and kind of like they do when someone is killed by the police in our community. The narrative becomes, was this person in the gang? You know what I'm saying? Was this person the Rodney King case, the infamous LAPD beating Rodney King. You know what I'm saying? The narrative, the question was Rodney King speeding or not? That was all they bombarded people. They were able to dismiss in fact the graphic depiction. Mind you, this was before social media. In fact, there was like on the breaking periods, breaking cases of actually seeing the footage of someone being beat. And then even when it got to the point of the trial in Semi Valley, the district attorney opening remarks to the jurors was, "Do not believe everything you're about to see." That was, what I'm saying. So literally, politically, they even when you see it, I mean, it like if I mean, the system is so, it has the ability, get right in your face to flip the script and distract you on what should be a question here. And you dismiss such, like I said, I talked about some of the contradictions even with the state case, and then later on, even with the more intensive, the continuous uh, target on Mr. Hoover's and others back. Uh, Information. I mean, the case of the Pontiac 17. And this is case in state. This is the time period when there was a different climate, how people viewed prison. So you had, some discuss. It was like mandatory to know who Field Marshal George Jackson was. You had a different sort of discussion happening from Attica to San Quentin to Folsom to Stateville to Pontiac. And 1977, you know what I'm saying, there was uprisings in Pontiac, and many people were targeted. And in fact, Mayor Richard Daley Jr. was the state's attorney's office that year. So these are some of the different dynamics, you know what I'm saying, that you got to put including the context. And they subsequently, that case was they ended up being beating that case to Pontiac 17. But again, he was still in state prison and taken out of state prison in 1996, I believe. 1996. That's the actual footage right there. We looking at, we viewing actual footage of Rodney King being beaten, and the image right there wasn't. I mean, no debate if he had got beaten. But people, the question, the narrative had become: was Rodney King speeding or not? And that's how powerful. Like I say, so we can see the same thing, but politically, your viewpoint. So we, what I'm saying, how you view it. So, you know what I'm saying? It has to be taken in. What's your political perspective? You can be given the same facts in regards to a respective case. So we want to have an objective discussion and objective. So you can have the opportunity to, and we provide with information, because even the Black Panther Party has said that information is raw material for new ideas. Again, information is raw. Am I still on? Okay, y'all forgive me. I just got this, I'm back with you. Yeah. So we're gonna do a part two, a follow up on this, because this is ever developing. This is ever developing. But let me give you a little more information in regards um, to this discussion here. So there's so now people are questioning. Okay, bottom line, they say, was he free? What's the case? But the U.S. president like has the ability to technically with the pardons for federal crimes, as opposed they do not have the option to pardon state cases or civil cases. And this was brought to my attention. In fact, the recent election, ironically. I recall getting phone calls from people saying, "Chairman, get different prisoners' names in, because there's elections happening, and things. It's like that's like people say election times. You know what I'm saying? Like people say tax refund time. You know what I'm saying? It's you have to take into account what time period you're in. And so I remember, I recall getting names in different, people who are locked up. I was calling people, man, where's such and such here? Give me their name, their ID number. And I remember flooding these different, getting these different numbers, names, and ID numbers, and what they had to different people. And it was brought to my attention. Say, hold on, Chairman. Just said, I didn't even know which respective partisan political party was talking about giving a pardon. I didn't know if it was Biden going out or Trump coming in. I didn't, I wasn't even familiar with, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not caught up there to the point to believe that, you know what I'm saying, that okay, that only one respective partisan political party would do certain dynamics. You know what I'm saying? This is the emphasis. That's some of the images there. I believe that's the Pontiac. Some of the members of the Pontiac 17. You got Benny Lee there. That's in fact that's it's Larry Hoover to your probably your right sector one second row far right. And in fact, you can look at some of the time. You can, like I said earlier, you can look at some of the pictures and images, and you can tell what time period. In Pontiac 17, the case was 1977 in Pontiac prison. One of the uniqueness about Pontiac also, Pontiac prison is a prison that's literally inside the community, like literally. You can literally, I recall even being there to this day, you can look outside the window and see like, civilians and people. That's one of the uniques about Pontiac. And Pontiac was known, had came to, those ICE, it's a segregation prison now, lockdown. Pontiac came to be known as the Thunderdome. Pontiac was the place where that, like you said, you went to gladiating school. It was more for the brawn, and again the Thunderdome. Stateville, which was the nucleus, and it was known, and not just only Illinois, but the country. Like in fact, to the point, like like thinkers and shakers, and like to see like official edicts and decisions, what I'm saying, made in Stateville. Also, some unique characteristics of Stateville was that Stateville was the only prison, I think, in the country that had what they refer to as a roundhouse. And that was the F house. It's made like you look at the Gladiators movies and whatever, and how it was set up. Stateville also, Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. was unfortunately taken there in 1969 after being convicted May of 1969 of the ice cream truck robbery case they had framed him with, in which they say he took $71 worth of ice cream and gave it to the children. And his response was, even though they lied on me, made me have to be a thief, made me have to be a Robin Hood type of thief, showing, giving to the people. And he was in the Stateville, and I was talking to a brother yesterday, matter of fact, or 2 days ago, and he was talking about he recalled when Chairman Fred got there, and the Goon Squad, which was really was a team used by the guards to attack other prisoners. He said he recalls the Goon Squad being outside the door. They was and Chairman Fred being inside the cell, the holding cell. They had him there, and he came up there. He said he was talking to Chairman Fred through outside the door, and he could hear. It was kind of like eerie when he's telling me this story. Chairman Fred was getting himself prepared. Him and that sharpen up his defense mechanism. You know what I'm saying? And but they said, the brothers, I mean, were supportive there, and they didn't pull it. He say, you remember, and also at that time period, they were known as approach you and call you by your number, your prison ID number, as opposed to your name. And Chairman Fred's response, and I heard this from a number of prisoners, said every time the administration approached him, and with the number, his response was, "I'm Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton, Illinois chapter chairman of the Black Panther Party." And they even went so far as to say he had to be criminally mentally insane for refusing to answer to a number. Similar to an attorney called drapetomania that many of our ancestors was targeted with, saying that you had some sort of psychological disorder. You had to be crazy for refusing to, buckle down, bow down to that chattel slavery. And he was subsequently sentenced, transferred from Stateville and sent to the infamous Menard in 1969 also. And I got to meet some of those prisoners that was down there, and they were on the payroll for the administration. And they would, attack what they refer to as problem prisoners for the administration. And they said when Chairman Fred got there, he had politicized them to the point that they told the warden, we on Chairman Fred's security now. Anything happen to him, we holding you accountable for this. So that's when they, put that in there also. Um, so Mr. Pontiac 17, and so okay, the state case, 1996, 1996. I'm just trying to go through. I'm touching going different time periods, and um, after the state prisons, the max prisons in particular, that was a certain class piece that's like in Stateville that was known for a while. And I say class piece, it was like open, but it was open for different dynamics like the narcotic trade, so on and so forth that happened. And mind you, prisons is a controlled environment. But then what was used to quote unquote like shut the prisons down was the April 1997 release of the Richard Speck tapes. I recommend you all look that up too, Google it. If we can pull that up, that'd be great too. The Richard Speck tapes. Richard Speck had the infamous murders. I think it was 6 University of Chicago nurses that were murdered, and students. They were students. They were going to be nurses, and one of them survived. One of them hid up under the bed, and she survived. I think she's a surviving witness. Richard Speck, who I believe came from Southern Illinois, but this was the case of Richard Speck, who was locked up in a maximum prison. And it's actual, you go on YouTube, type Richard Speck, and it's actual. Now, mind you, put this in back to putting stuff in context of time. This was prior to the Kim Kardashians and like this is prior to people just going across the border getting plastic surgery. This is a time period when that's like unbelievable. That's about plastic surgery. Richard Speck was sitting in Stateville prison, maximum prison, big old plate of cocaine. I mean, and no shirt on. I mean, man, like looking like like Dolly Parton, like literally. I'm saying breast in the prison, and he, and even the job he was given, inside State, he's get free access to move around. And they use this when this that's exactly this is Richard Speck inside the prison. I got this individual's name that was with him. It was a honey. I've got that other the guys right there. I've got his name. But this is what the state had used to lock down all the prisons. This actual footage, and they shut all the joints down. They said the prisoners no longer can take pictures on visitation. So so the crime was that they got exposed. You know what I'm saying? So they locked the joint, all the Max in particular, shut them down. They started implementing no contact visits. All this. So it went down. And um, this is 1997, I believe. Um, so you see, lockdown 1997. Trying to give a time period. So okay, prior to that, um, was it 1996 that my time might be up. But I'm thinking 1996 when the mass indictments, let's say indictments has swept not only from the prison but throughout the streets. In fact, I'm looking forward to have a few of those who were indicted, like some of the federal co-defendants. Um, Brother Tyrenzi Bible and others, we're gonna have them come on here with us too also. Um, there was like mass sweeps in the community, and it was I think 1996, and the secret tapes of Richard Speck, yes, and you had and it was termed, if we can look up Operation Headache, 1996, with the then U.S. Attorney for the Northern District was Jim Burns, and it was just, I mean, coming through prison, it was a mass sweep on the GDs. And let me put this in context also. This was shortly thereafter the renaming from Gangster Disciples to Growth and Development. So sometimes you see when people I mean, so why people don't do nothing positive? The repercussions that come down. I mean, you go look at the quote unquote coincidental timing of the shooting of Willie Lord on the West Side. Go look at what he was doing against on the West Side. We started having against all odds meetings and coming down to City Hall and saying, getting, doing some progressive actions. All you see this, you see a certain he. Go look at even in today with even a lot of these rappers, and they just even say something progressive. You know, when they get online, you see the connection, the timing. You know what I'm saying? Countless of individuals, the timing of it. And that's just like in the general community. So you're told directly and indirectly, you'll be rewarded. You'll be rewarded. You know what I'm saying? And people pick up on this here for negative behavior, but heat comes down for anything progressive. So, to my train of thought, 1996, I believe, was Operation Headache under former U.S. Attorney Jim Burns, where these sweeps came down. In fact, the news that when this came down, I remember it was 1996 in particular because the quote from the U.S. Attorney was, when they came through the sweeps, the U.S. Attorney had said something to the effect that, prepare yourselves for nationwide violence. We are taking the head of the snake. That's literally what they said. One of America's policies, whether it be domestically or nationally or whatever speaking, is to create chaos and then restore order. Create chaos, then restore order. You seen literally that night throughout, I mean, the prisons, I'm telling you, phone calls, you said, man, it's going down. It was all to the internal, so, the trickle down impact was going down. The community, the prisons, so on and so forth. And it was like, man, it was like literally, it can be correlated to in Iraq and later what was even manipulated or created to be Kuwait, which was even it wasn't even an actual location. But you know what I'm saying, they came in another state made, colonized border. Where you seen where the U.S. is able to go gaslight a certain group of individuals. So, man, you should be this your own country. So you go and you fund it back. Similar to what you see going, presently right now today. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you're told, well, the U.S. is over there because they care about other people, other countries. So, well, what's happening right here? What's the hold up? You know what I'm saying? But so they go over there because they're looking for weapons of mass destruction. Oh, go the way. Well, damn, they done wiped the whole country out. You know what I'm saying? And went in over there and literally hung the leadership. I'm talking like hung them. I'm talking like literally got them like hanging. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and, you say, well, man, there was no weapons of mass destruction. Panama, Noriega, just go over there and just kick the doors in and go grab some individuals. So, like, you know what I'm saying? And there were even individuals to this day, as we speak, they say that came with these sweeps that people have not seen again. The 19 have never. I mean, groups. I'm talking about groups of individuals, and they were taken to what later became known as these black sites. Black sites became known after a white individual, mind you, was taken to. This is something in Chicago. These are underground. In fact, a lot of people call them whoopee stations. You'll be taken to these underground stations in Chicago. You'll be pulled up. They put the law enforcement. They have ski masks over their faces. No badges. All your so-called constitutional rights. I mean, are not even no phone calls, no nothing. Just come up on you, pull you over. Like a lot of people talking about right now. Do you know what's going on with ICE? On this was happening right here. In Chicago. I mean, man, the black sites. I'm talking like literally. Vans pull up, ski mask on. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it was a nice name given back then called whoopee stations. You people like you see people say, "What happened, man? I don't know where I was taken to." So they took 10 of us. I haven't seen my friends anymore since then. And it would take you, you know what I'm saying, run you down. You know what I'm saying? Man, not to this day, people have not been seen. I mean, again, since 1996. This is kind of, my phone trying to down me. Um, I don't know. I think we're gonna close out and we're gonna set the stage part two, and we're gonna see we'll have our brother Larry Hoover Jr. online with us, as well as look for some other people, some actual that was co-defendants on the case of Larry Hoover and the community in general. Again, because this is a discussion that we want to seize the time because people are having some discussions that they previously didn't have. But I touched on that this state case, and then yeah, with that. Larry Hoover see the federal case. It was, so even now I guess I'm gonna say this too before we close out. I was saying ironically, had it not been for the federal case, in the case of Mr. Hoover, had he still been in state prison, and this had happened, the tension and light right now, we are saying that many people have been, many people has been given consistently for years. But that's this light, acknowledging officially. People are calling on questions now. I'm saying because of that, it's like heightening the contradictions. People say, okay, now this has come down from the federal government in regards to the commutation. What's the holdup? Because a lot of people's like, man, they're like, man, it's free and so on and so forth. And you say, whoa. So now a lot of times people are forced to have a crash course, again, a crash course in capitalism. You're being forced to learn to distinguish the different commutations, pardon, so on and so forth. And this is something I even myself had to learn when we fight for pardon on my case. A pardon based on innocence. You know what I'm saying? Just general pardon, different dynamics of that. Um, there's the image there. There's the infamous COINTELPRO, an acronym for Counterintelligence Program, a word, a term that's uh, still relevant. It's still relevant. This is a program that was implemented officially 1967, uh, created by the former director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, not to be confused with Mr. Larry Hoover. Again, J. Edgar Hoover, architected by the deputy director of the FBI, William Sullivan. In their own words, a program that's created to discredit, demise, and disrupt and destroy any black nationalist movements, especially amongst the youth, in which over 90% for sure, was directed to the Black Panther Party. We use this term. We say now until pro. It's still occurring right now as we speak. Um, but again, look for this next episode. They're talking about what's going on now. People talking about what's based on the state level. People communities calling upon Governor Pritzker, Governor of Illinois, to follow up now. Okay, the ball is in your court now in regards to the pardon. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The question, what's the hold up? Basically in plain language terms, people say, okay, well, why ain't out? And so people are getting a crash course in the legal system, the dynamics of it. So people are, the calls, the letters, and the support, and also, all we say was our position, free them all. The fact that this discussion is happening on a people of the lay, and that's what's going to take. These type of conversations have to happen in every nook and cranny of our community. The cases of the Imam Jamil Amin, formerly known as H. Rap Brown, Mumia Abu Jamal's, countless of others, that are held captive, Um, I mentioned the C numbers earlier. C numbers Illinois, Mr. Force, Mr. Hoover, your cousin. Go to your uncle, your auntie. You'll see the people in general. Go back and relook at these cases. It calls for, as we say, a critical analysis, not just some abstract thought. And let's take a deeper look. There was a discussion recently about New Orleans. Uh, the 10 prisoners escaping, and 2 of them still being on the lam, on the run. And one of the guys, they showing his picture, the light skinned brothers on the run, and they showed a picture of his father. His father who looks just like this young brother. It's a picture of his father with Lil Wayne's, the rapper Lil Wayne's stepfather, Rabbit. And they were like, man, this is interesting. They showed a picture of them together. And they said, what happened to this, the one who's on the run, New Orleans prison? What happened to his father? And he said, oh, his father was murdered in front of this young man when he was a child, 7 years old. His father was murdered in front of him. And they said, then they put the gun to this 7-year-old child's head. And then they fast forward and said, he locked up in this case of strangulation. So hold up, stop the car. Man, where's the therapy? You know what I'm saying? And it's another the other brother case. See, we have to start taking some. I mean, you can't afford these reactionary responses. History or situations does not just start when you just first come in contact. So, with that being said, take a deeper, a critical analysis on the cases of Imam Jabal Alameen. Cases, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Ford, Mr. Hoover, your cousin, the brother, sister down the street, y'all. Again, tune back in with us, y'all. In the meantime, between time and after that, keep your heads up, your eyes open, the fists clenched, y'all. Again, we working this out. This month. We up in the ante with the technology. And I'm looking forward to this here. So we're gonna get the official now. I think we might go with the Hampton because there's so much we're gonna say what Chairman Mao Zedong said, let a million flowers bloom. You know what I'm saying? So we repost this, get the word out. I don't next time I think we're gonna have some actual interaction to see any questions or comments you have. You know what I'm saying? So again, y'all tune in with us, tap in with us, you know what I'm saying? Again, revolutionary shout out appreciation to all, you know what I'm saying, all our forces that played a major role, you know what I'm saying, with making this happen. And we're looking forward to continue to make history, and tape history. So, Brother Larry, you know what I'm saying, go without saying, um, we go to seniors, what is junior, Little Larry, the whole family, you know what I'm saying? Wendy, his wife, the whole family, to the entire community, to the people. You know, I say that again on our minds and our hearts. You know what I'm saying? Real talk, because just even the type of discussion that's happening on just on social media, even in the community, general community, the ante is being up. And you know what I'm saying? We have to up the ante on type of conversation and be clear. We cannot afford the luxury to just simply party and bullshit. Don't get me wrong, we can party, but we got to put the politics even when we party. How we tap? We gonna tap about it, y'all. It's happening. Keep your heads up, eyes on the fist clench, y'all. Free them all.